The Evolution of Adam is a book where I just sort of talk about evolution as a reality. It's true, right? Now, what do you do with the Bible? And what I see Christians very often do is that they have sort of, okay, evolution's over here, and then you have the Bible over here, and they're telling two different stories. And they say, how can I make evolution and the Bible sort of fit together? And the assumption that's normally made is, yeah, evolution's a problem. I got the Bible part down. I know what's going on there. But how do I make evolution fit with the Bible? And the point of my book, The Evolution of Adam, is that actually you're getting the Bible part wrong. You're making assumptions about, first of all, the Adam and Eve story. What is that even about? Is that a story of creation in a historical sense, or is it metaphorical? And if you understand it as metaphorical, you don't really have the tension with evolution that you think it is. In other words, it's not two things to be reconciled, but it's two things that are telling very different kinds of stories. The Adam and Eve story is not explaining things scientifically. It's not even explaining things historically. It is explaining something theologically for the ancient people. Namely that true communion, and the word in the Old Testament really is obedience to God, which is what children have to learn, by the way. They have to learn obedience to their parents. Obedience is not a bad thing. We think it's oppressive, but it could actually be very liberating. But Adam and Eve, their presence in paradise is dependent upon their communion with God and obedience to God, which is sort of the story of the Bible in a nutshell. The Israelites don't stay in their land, the land of Canaan, which is the land flowing with milk and honey. It's a paradise-like land. Staying in the land is contingent upon obedience to God, not perfection, but basically, let's start with not worshiping other gods. Let's start with that. And not worshiping God through idols. There are different ways of worshiping the God of Israel. And the kings have a responsibility to see that happen. That's just rule. But that doesn't happen. And so, like Adam and Eve, they are forced out of this land, this paradise, right? See, if you understand the Adam and Eve story as sort of metaphorical of the entire journey of Israel in the Old Testament, it's not an origin story that answers the question, where do people come from? Well, they're created just this way. It's not a story that explains scientifically where people came from. It's a story to explain theologically, why is Israel the way that it is? Well, this pattern goes back to the very beginning. It's not a story so much about satisfying ancient historical curiosities about what happened back then. It's a story to explain what Israel is doing now. Now meaning at the time when this stuff was written, like during the time of the monarchy after David, right? That's what the story is about. When you see that, you don't have that tension with evolution anymore, and you sort of respect these two, as people say, these two books, the book of nature and the book of the Bible. You respect them for what they're trying to do. If you do that, the whole discussion shifts entirely. You don't have to reconcile one with the other, but you respect them both for what they're designed to do. Science is not a book of theology. You don't conclude from evolution and therefore God doesn't exist. You're crossing a boundary that can't be crossed. Likewise, the Bible does not answer a scientific question. The Bible says Adam and Eve, therefore science is wrong. They're talking different languages, they're addressing different issues.